Hello and welcome back to the Motorsport Bear Talk podcast. I'm your host Didi, and joining me today once again is my friend and your co-host Vedant. On this episode, we will be previewing the F1 Silverstone GP. So let's grab some chai, take our seats, ready our opinions, and dive right into the conversation. Hello Vedant. What an exciting weekend this was with Formula E, and there's just more F1 to look forward to next weekend with the Silverstone GP. Full capacity crowd, first ever sprint race, new tires, maybe some British weather, maybe some rain, a lot of new variables for the next weekend. How are you feeling about it?
Well, I'm all ready. I have been skeptical about the sprint races, but yeah, we are finally debuting them this weekend, and I think the British GP and the unpredictable British weather can be the best place for the first trial.
Absolutely, and it's not just the weather. I looked at the weather forecast right now. There is no forecast for rain this upcoming weekend, but who knows? It did rain over the last weekend as the Festival of Speed at Goodwood was going on. But hopefully we'll have some rain next weekend. But that's usually doesn't happen. So let's not get our hopes too high. But other than that, new tires too this weekend. So that's going to be another thing to look out for. And even the tire selection throughout the weekend is all jumbled up compared to the usual, usual rules and regulations that we have around tire selection for the weekend that Formula One has because of the sprint qualifying format. So I'll go with the sprint qualifying format for our listeners once again, just to remind them how their weekend is going to look like. So on Friday morning, there will be 60 minutes of free practice one. On Friday afternoon, you will have the regular qualifying session to determine the order for the sprint race qualifying. However, for this qualifying session, each driver will be given 5 sets of soft tires, and that those are the only tires they can use in that session. And the cars will enter park permit before the qualifying session on Friday. On Saturday morning, the teams will have another 60 minutes of free practice 2 session. There are some parameters that the teams can still play with, even though the car will be in park permit, but they won't be able to change out any major parts or make any upgrades during the free practice 2 session on Saturday. Saturday afternoon, there will be the 100-kilometer sprint race qualifying to determine the order for the Grand Prix on Sunday. The teams will have a free tire choice for the sprint race, and there will be points for the top three. 3 points for whoever finishes first, 2 points for the second place, and 1 point for third place. And on Sunday, we'll have the full Grand Prix as usual. But this time, all the runners will have free tire choice, and as usual, the teams will be required to use at least 2 compounds on each car throughout the race. So, as you see there, the tire strategy is going to change, and the Q2 advantage that usually, people used to have, those who wouldn't qualify would have a tire advantage to, start on mediums or hards and go long in the race, or, against the competitors who would qualify 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th or something like that. That advantage is gone, so it becomes essential to, qualify as high up the grid as possible after not only the qualifying on Friday, but after the sprint race on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is again. It just makes it more exciting. The sprint race, and it gives it value, and it gives it some sort of a purpose in a sense.
Not just that, just the lack of qualifying. We've seen how the lack of qualifying at Imola last year, and at different rounds, caused a shuffle in the running order for the teams, and the teams qualified better. Some teams did really well, like AlphaTauri, who had previous running in an older car at Imola, qualified really well and did really well in the race last year. But and we could see something similar at Silverstone, especially with the new tires. We saw Ferrari struggle with the tires in France. Obviously the conditions did not suit the car, but at the same time, the Pirelli had just upped the tire pressures by 2 psi on the rear tires for the race in France, and yet Ferrari struggled a lot that weekend. And with the new tires and the lack of practice this weekend, it could really jumble up the order. And I think this is a really good chance for teams that have been struggling. Like AlphaTauri hasn't been able to put a weekend together so far. Alpine, who's looking really good with Fernando Alonso, but Esteban Ocon has been struggling. I think it's a really good chance for these teams to capitalize when everyone else is also struggling with the same set of variables that have just been thrown at them for a couple weekends this year.
Yeah, definitely. And you talk about teams performing, uh, drivers who have been underperforming making the best. And Daniel Ricciardo, I mean, he has shown good race pace, so the sprint race would be ideal for him to get to convert his, like, if he has a bad quali, the sprint race would be ideal to get a good spot in, for the main race on Sunday.
Absolutely. But news from the Mercedes garage last week was that they will be bringing more upgrades. However, Lewis Hamilton did say that he was not convinced that Mercedes will be able to close the gap to Red Bull with the upgrades they're bringing to Silverstone. However, Toto Wolff was still optimistic about the upgrades and said that this should at least put them in contention with Red Bull. But overall, it seems that the mood in the Mercedes garage is not that optimistic overall, especially when Lewis comes out and says that he's not really looking forward to it, and he's, I wouldn't say given up or sort of given up, but he's kind of pessimistic, and he said he was really relishing the championship challenge that he had during the first few rounds, but you don't see those same comments coming from Lewis. So that goes to show that he might not be so confident in the abilities of his team, and he might not be so confident that he could drive the car to a place where he could still compete with Max Verstappen. So that says something to me. But hopefully, from a championship perspective, from a fan perspective, I hope Mercedes takes it to Red Bull once again, and we have a championship till the end.
Yeah, I think it's very important now for Mercedes to fight back, because it's almost the middle part of the season now, and as we have talked about earlier, the more Mercedes lack, and the gap will just grow, right? And especially since it's the British Grand Prix, the home race for Lewis Hamilton, so it's kind of symbolic. But and a full capacity crowd, nothing can be better than that, right? So it's going to be a hell of a weekend.
Absolutely. And Lewis will want to win in front of his home crowd, like he said. But talking about home races, McLaren and Lando Norris also have their home race here next upcoming weekend. And could Norris grab another podium at his home race in front of the fans? He's the only driver who's finished in the points every race this season. So that's got to say something about Lando Norris's consistency. But could he take a podium this race? We know that McLaren's performance was was sort of an outlier last weekend. We know McLaren is doing well, and they're gaining performance over the last 3 seasons. But last weekend was somewhat of an outlier, and we shouldn't really expect the same performance going into Silverstone. But man, do I want Lando Norris to be on that podium on Sunday.
Yeah, I think Lando has been performing really well, especially in qualifying. He qualified P2 last time out, and he, I think, has a couple more top 4 finishes as well, top 4 qualifying as well. But the sprint race I think the sprint race will play against him, because if he qualifies ahead of, say, Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez, which he is doing currently, they have a stronger car on race pace, I would suggest. And I think they would be able to overtake Lando over the course of the 100 laps, and that might affect. But then again, in the Grand Prix, in the race on Sunday, he will have that opportunity again to claw back and use strategy.
Absolutely, but from the Austria weekend, we know that Mercedes was one of the slowest cars through speed wraps, right? They were running a lot of wing because they lost performance from the diffuser compared to Red Bull, who have been running a really, really small wing and generating the downforce using the diffuser. Really opposite in the way they're having to approach the weekends, and we know that McLaren is one of the fastest cars throughout the speed wraps. And although Silverstone is a twisty circuit and it's got its fast and medium speed corners, it does have long straights. So maybe McLaren will still be up there, like you said, at the end of qualifying on Friday.
Yeah.
But it's the race pace that'll matter over the sprint qualifying to decide where Lando starts on Sunday, which will be crucial because there is a free tire choice on Sunday for the Grand Prix. Another home favorite, George Russell, came so close to points 2 weekends in a row in Austria. Will he finally get some points this weekend? That Williams definitely comes alive in George Russell's hand, especially, over the last couple of weekends, like I said just now. But in front of the home crowd, that extra bit of, home horsepower, if you want to say, will it play with into like George Russell's hand? Will he have that extra motivation to go out and give it all once more and not be disappointed with the the finishes that he's had over the last couple of races, even though he's put in such great performances.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think it's another a very it would be a very symbolic uh, race for George Russell and Williams, because Williams themselves are a British team, and honestly, I won't be sad if if it is Alonso Russell overtakes to get those points. So I would be happy to accept that. But yeah, the Williams car has been showing pace, as you said, in the hands of George Russell, and we know from their previous comments that the car is very track specific, like the performance is very specific to some characteristics. And but I think they would have a good weekend in Silverstone.
I mean, I hope so. But obviously, the championship is getting tighter in the midfield. McLaren only leads Ferrari by 19 points. So I think Ferrari will be hoping to capitalize over, the sprint qualifying and the race on Sunday, because they've shown really good race pace after having made some adjustments after the race in France going to Austria. So hopefully we'll see Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz start up the grid on the Sunday race and maybe grab some good points, especially capitalizing on the fact that Daniel hasn't been performing so well, and this is the prime time for Ferrari to take the lead for the third place in the Constructors' Championship and maintain that lead, hoping that hoping that when Daniel comes back they can hold on to the third place. But it's definitely one of the fights that I'm looking forward to. Alfa Romeo has always done well. They usually come alive in the race. But what can we expect from this weekend? Antonio Giovinazzi has had a decent qualifying usually. Kimi Raikkonen has been disappointing in qualifying. But this is a high-speed circuit, in general. And we know that the Alfa does well on these kinds of circuits.
Yeah, speaking about Giovinazzi and Ferrari, they are Italians in England this weekend. I think they would be very, very... I think they would relish the challenge, and I think they would be super motivated by this weekend's result, the last weekend's result of the Euro finals. But yeah, I'm not too sure about Kimi Raikkonen. He has good race pace, but his qualifying is not that great this season. But Giovinazzi has always been just on the brink of Q2 almost every weekend now, and I think it's just a matter of time. And he made Q3 in Monaco, if I'm not wrong, right? So it's just a matter of time where his performances become consistent. And I heard an interview of Frederick Vasseur, and he said they don't take he doesn't make his driver's decision so early in the season, so that he has pressure and he has the leverage, and the drivers perform. And I think Giovinazzi knows this, and his performances this season have shown that he wants that seat. He wants to stay in F1, and he's very hungry for it. So yeah, I think Silverstone, the iconic circuit, and symbolicism in a way, Italy and England. So it's
F1 is coming home in one way, I guess. Just like the Euro came home. But it'll probably be Max Verstappen who will be, the favorite for the win going to the weekend. Anything else about the Silverstone GP that you want to talk about, Vedant?
Silverstone is a track everybody knows very well, and it's a regular track. So I'm not too sure there'll be many surprises. Definitely the sprint race and the tire life in the sprint race towards the end of it will affect a lot of factors, because we know that Mercedes have a flaw with overheating tires for the past few seasons, so that might affect them towards the end of the sprint race and all these things, right? So
absolutely, a lot to look out for. But a little throwback to last weekend, and conversations coming out of Austria, the second round in Austria. So driving penalties from last week for Sergio, Lando, and Charles, and there was like a lot of conversation on Twitter, on YouTube, and all social media platforms regarding the rules and regulations and the penalties that were given out. Now, according to my interpretation of the rules, I went in and I checked Appendix L, which the FIA said that the drivers were in that the drivers were infringing, and according to my interpretation, a penalty was not like the stewards shouldn't have issued a penalty in accordance with those rules. However, even though there's been like public uproar that that Lando didn't deserve a penalty and that Sergio also didn't deserve a penalty, the public sentiment following that instance has been that hard racing should require the defending driver to leave a car's width for his opponent towards the outer edge of the track, and that is what the FIA's ruling also shows, which is sort of like it's going away from the previous rulings and the previous precedents that we had seen over the last couple of years with Charles and Max in Austria a couple of years ago, and similar instances, Charles and Lewis in Monza a couple of years ago, and instances like that. So I think there's a change in the way that FIA and the public want F1 drivers to go racing, and I sort of agree with that. Even though what happened on Sunday did make sense from a driver's perspective, and I did agree that they should not have been penalized for doing what they did. I think the rules are not in a place where you can use the rules to rule against the driver's actions like the stewards did last weekend. But if this is the way we want to go, I think it is high time that FIA went and amended the rules. So what do you think? Should the rules be amended to go into that direction? And should the rules or the application of the rules be different for tarmac runoffs versus gravel tracks? Because Austria turn 1, we saw Lando Norris squeeze Sergio Perez out wide going to turn 1, and he had to go over the yellow curb and take the runoff area. So should those rules be different? Should it be nuanced, or should it just be the same rule regardless of what is there outside the track?
Yeah, see, these are rules regarding racing incidents, right? And it's always a grey area, as we have talked about in the previous podcast. So if we add more and more rules, it would create more uproar, I think. But I think it's very every situation is different, every racing incident is different. Even though it's the identical racing incident, things are different, right? So I mean, if you look at the onboard from Lando Norris, he had complete steering lock on the right. So I mean, all he could do was step on the brakes and yield the position, which as a racing driver you don't do. So obviously, had it been a runoff area on the outside, like turn 1, that would not have been an issue. So it's these variables, and I don't think adding more rules will help this, because there'll always be something or the other which people don't agree with.
Yeah, but there needs to be some clarity on what is expected of the F1 drivers. Are they expected to give space when there's a gravel trap going into a corner, at a corner to the opponent who's on the outside line? But is it okay if there's tarmac runoff instead? So those are things, and I think it's totally understandable if FIA wants to make these rules nuanced, or the application of the rules nuanced, and the way they penalize the drivers, that if there's tarmac runoff, you're okay to push your rivals off track, but if there's gravel trap, you can't do that, because that is not hard racing according to the definition of racing that we're trying to adopt. So that's totally fine with me, but I think there needs to be some sort of clarification, and I think Michael Massey really needs to come down and enforce those rules, because we've seen a lot of discrepancy, and we've talked about it over and over again, that the FIA have been consistent in an inconsistent way over the last couple of years, especially ever since Michael Massey has taken over the reins.
Yeah, definitely, and
the head steward.
It's the same thing with the track limits issue, right?
Yeah.
The rule says that you have to be within those white lines, and there can be a rule it's the rule, right? And people use the curbs, so yeah, if your part of your tire is within the white lines, it's okay, so you can use the curb. But time and again we have seen people abuse those rules, and the stewards and Michael Massey and his team not being consistent. So I think it's not the matter of what the rules say, but I think it's on his Michael Massey and his team to get more consistent, because if they are consistent with their application, three times people will complain, right? But after that they will see okay, like, it's consistent. So even if we complain and even if we do anything,
They'll know what is
it's fair,
expected from
right?
them
It's
after
fair
that.
and it's equal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, there's been a lot of talk coming from the F1 paddock regarding the new engine rules for 2025, and Toto Wolff came out and said that Formula One should go more electric than it is already. Whereas there were a couple more team principals like Christian Horner who said that if we want to go electric, we might as well go Formula E. So I want something that has to do with combustion power, if that is to do with biofuels or renewable fuels or sustainable fuels. I mean, so that is acceptable, but it seemed like they didn't want to go in the direction of more electric power. Where do you want F1 to go? Just in brief.
I think renewable power and biofuels is the best option for Formula One. Like, considering all things, because Formula E is already that electric series, and Formula One won't want to electrify more to keep those identities separate, right? And since Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport technology and the leader in innovation, so making biofuels work at 300 kph and like without refueling, that would be the ideal case for the automotive industry as well.
Yeah, obviously it is like you just pointed. It is a more complex conversation regarding what Formula One's goals are regarding are they really trying to incentivize the automotive industry? Are they trying to be relevant to the automotive world, or are they really just trying to innovate and pave their own path in a way to go in a direction that Formula One wants to go in and the current stakeholders want to go in, regardless of how the other industries are shaping up and things like that. But yeah, I would definitely want it to be more internal combustion based. That has been the identity of Formula One. I'm not saying just use the petrol and like the diesel and like the carbon fuels that we have right now. Obviously innovate, but I would still like to see some noise, some excitement, and everything that F1, the Aura F1 stands for. I would still like to see that be a part of the sport after 2025. But that's really all from my side regarding the discussion for the upcoming British GP. Anything else from you, Vedant?
No, I guess nothing much.
Well, thank you for joining me, and I will want to remind our listeners that please do not forget to tune into the official unveiling of the first ever life-size model of the 2022 F1 car on Thursday at 1500 BST. The launch will be streamed on F1.com, the F1 YouTube channel, and on Facebook. So please tune into that. And that'll be all from us this weekend, and we'll catch you after the race next week.